Big Country Politics on KTAB continues.
All right, welcome back. We're talking politics and the coronavirus. We just talked national and state, now local. So this is even more direct, the local impact. So we've seen, we've gotten to know the city manager, Robert Hanna, County Judge Donnie Bowles, Mayor Anthony Williams. We've gotten to see all of these folks. We're in a limited shelter-at-place in the city of Abilene. You know, they're getting a lot of heat sometimes for not being, you know, buckled or aggressive enough. I guess that's the way of phrasing it. But it's a hard line to balance.
It really, really is, because, you know, in a certain selfish way, and I hate to use that word selfish, so I don't mean it in the negative sense, but they have to keep government going. To do that, they need revenue. To do that, they need people working. So if you go into a limited shutdown, well, then some people aren't going to work, and that's going to cost you government revenue. That's going to hurt your ability to keep government functioning. So they are really torn between the public health and also the fact that people need to work. And how do you balance that? So the governor gives orders. At the state level, those orders have to be carried out within the local conditions. And that's the balancing act that county judge, the mayor, city manager, all have to try to come up with. You know, in the end, how will we know whether it's the right answer or not? You know, do we judge it by the number of deaths, the number of cases? We don't know.
Yeah, very interesting. Now, when we're talking about the city's revenue and the county's revenue, I was speaking with City Manager Robert Hanna this last Monday, and I asked him specifically how are March sales tax receipts, and he then told me actually they were up because they're actually about 2 months behind. Mm-hmm. So what they saw at the end of March was really what we saw in January. So they were
great month.
Yeah, they were projecting some. You know, we're going up, and that's no secret. Abilene is growing. Our economy is growing. So in about 2 months, they're projecting millions of dollars in budget impact. So this is, you know, affecting the mom and pops. It's affecting the big box stores.
Oh, it certainly is.
Yeah, it's affecting everyone, and the government too.
Yeah, and the government too. And remember, so if you keep that timeline, then we'll really see the effect. May, June, and then they go into budget workshops at the city level and the county level to plot their budgets for the new year. How are they going to do that? I mean, they're going to look at declining revenue. Mm-hmm. What decisions are they going to have to make? Is this the time you start thinking about laying off people, about canceling programs? You know, these are things you got to think about now.
Yeah, and that's a big part of what they do as of right now. In City Council, Robert Hanna said at this time, you know, no furloughs. Right now, they're looking at reassigning some workers to maybe have them do other jobs. You know, right. We need a big old rainy day fund is what we need, right?
Yeah, the state has a big rainy day fund of, what, $8 billion or something like that, but the cities, counties aren't designed that way. So they're responsible to have a balanced budget. They have a balanced budget. When you're looking at a revenue shortfall like we're going to be looking at, you move people around as best you can for as long as you can, but in the end you have to make really tough decisions. So I go back to during the Great Recession, and the city of Abilene, it put people on furloughs. And is that same thing going to be taking place here?
Right. When we're talking about this, had this all not happened, you'd probably be here right now and talking about the May 2nd election.
Yes.
So there are two races at the city council level, so Donna Albus' seat and then the mayor's seat. So those are both up right now, and they're going to postpone now. Yes. So Judge Donnie Bowles said, you know what, we're not doing these elections. It's not safe. You know, what do you think are some of the effects that this is going to have in them pushing it?
Well, one of the things is, you know, if you looked at the election and we didn't push it back, people would be going, what election? Other than a few signs, there's no campaigning. Campaigning is almost impossible to do at this point. And in a certain sense, campaigning when the incumbent is on TV, I'm talking about the mayor, is on TV, directing the city in a really executive manner makes a campaign really, really difficult if you're the challenger. So the smart thing to do for the safety of the election workers, for the safety of people who vote, is to just push it back as long as we can. And that's what the city's doing, because otherwise it's really not fair. You don't want people to get sick just by exercising their right to vote.
Right, and back to the state, we're talking, there's a lot of push for mail-in ballots.
Yes.
So a lot of places do that. I lived in Colorado, and we got it in the mail, and you dropped it off.
Yes.
There's a big push for that right now, right?
Yes, there is, and it's a controversial push in some circles. A lot of Republicans at the national level are opposed to it. And President Trump said this past week, hey, there's fraud with mail-in voting. And he's correct, but there is fraud occasionally with mail-in voting. But we usually know about it, and it usually happens in small numbers of cases. The reality is our elections are largely carried out without fraud. Mail-in voting is the most common way to commit fraud, but it happens really rarely. The military, when they're deployed, they vote by mail.
By absentee, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Millions of Americans do it. Whole states do it. You did in Colorado. My mother did it in Oregon. Utah, a solidly Republican state, votes by mail.
Wow.
And it might be the way to really handle the November election.
All right. Still doing the professors?
Yes, indeed.
All right,
As long as we
KWKC.
can. Yes, KWKC, 4 to 5 p.m. every Monday through Friday.
All right, we'll be listening. Thank you, Dr. Fabrizier, for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.